Tigers beat the Rangers 3-1. James Edwards III wrote a Pistons mailbag that we're going to take a look at. And the Detroit Lions have officially started minicamp. We break all that down on today's show.
And there's the snap. Blitz comes. Mayfield back. Loads. Throws. Picked up by the Lions. Intercepted by the Lions. Intercepted by the Lions. Derek Barnes. Derek Barnes. Derek Barnes. Reggie Miller. And it's blocked again. What a block.
Lead pass in for Larkin. In space for Raymond. And he scores! Lucas Raymond!
Welcome back to Detroit Sports Talk. Today's date is June 5th, 2024, and I am your host, Bobby Buckets. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to talk some Detroit sports today, so be sure to like today's show, subscribe to the channel, comment below your thoughts on today's topics, and follow me on Twitter at Bobby Buckets. Updates across the sports world, not a whole lot going on. We do have the first NBA Finals game tomorrow night. NHL Finals start this weekend. But we did get a report today from Shams Charania that looks like JJ Redick is going to be the coach of the LA Lakers. I love everything about it. I wish JJ would be a coach for the Detroit Pistons. I love everything about JJ Redick. I consistently watch his podcast, especially his one with LeBron now. A report came out that JJ said he will talk about his role after the finals are over because he has to work the finals as an analyst. So everything that I have consumed from JJ Redick's podcast, all of his philosophies about the NBA are very modern, and coming from a three-point sniper like he is, you would think that was the case. But also watching how well him and LeBron get along on their podcast, I just feel it's going to be a very hard job, frankly, because anybody who goes there, if you don't win right away, you're getting canned. You know, he's got a year or two max that he has to produce, and if he doesn't, it's just a very tough gig to have for your first gig. But frankly, given all the connections, especially with the show that JJ and LeBron have, of course, he's ending up in LA. Can't wait, though. Very excited about it. From a Pistons standpoint, we await news on Monty Williams. Is he staying? Is he going? The longer we go without Trajan Langdon being introduced, having an introductory press conference, because he signed, it was official. I think it was he signed the paperwork last Wednesday. So it's been a week. He was announced on Friday, but we still do not have an introductory press conference date set. So what that tells me, and we've gotten reports from Mark Stein as well, that he's continuing to meet with Monty and the staff. I don't think he's made a decision either way yet. So if your thoughts are that Monty is sticking around because we haven't heard anything yet, I would not go that route. I think until we get an introductory press conference date for Trajan, anything goes. And the longer we wait, the more I think Monty is gone. So we'll see. But let's go ahead and dive into our first segment. All right, the first thing we are talking about today, Tigers win again over the Rangers. Another low-scoring win. They win 3-1, and they are officially above 500 now. They are a 31-30 team. Jack Flaherty was the one who pitched. He gets the win as he finishes 5 innings with 2 hits, no earned runs, no walks, and 4 strikeouts. If you were watching the game or if you were paying attention to Twitter at the time, Jack got pulled after that 5th inning when he was just dealing. And so everybody was very confused as to why he got pulled. And then there was a clip where you could see him stretching on the bench. And so it ended up coming out that he was pulled early for some just lower back tightness. Apparently nothing to worry about long term. It was just kind of a precaution. Here's my stance on Jack Flaherty as I've learned more and more about the Tigers as I continue to do this show. I think you need to trade Jack at the deadline. he continues to deal. He's on like a $10 million deal, so he's not very expensive, but it's a 1-year deal. So he's going into free agency next year, and if I'm Jack, I want to get paid. I'm going to the highest bidder. Now, the benefit for the Tigers, you have Jackson Jobe waiting in the wings. So what I would do, I would flip Jack at the deadline for a team that wants him now and wants to extend him and get a nice piece in return. Now, I'm much better with coming up with NBA trades than I am for any other league, just because I look at that so much. I have no idea what a baseball trade looks like. I have no idea what equal value is in return for Jack Flaherty. If I'm dealing him, I'm probably looking for some type of decent hitter in return. So I'm not entirely sure what's out there, but frankly, I'm of the opinion, let somebody else pay Jack. Get something for him at the deadline. Get an asset for him before you let him walk in free agency. Get somebody who could be a piece next year and help the offense. Our offense in this game came from Zach McKinstry and Riley Green as they each hit a home run. Riley Green hit a solo shot. It was his 11th of the year. Zach hit a 2-run shot. Colt Keith was on base. And that was actually Zach's first home run of the year. He also had a triple, so he had the 2 hardest hits of a cycle done. But home run and a triple last night. And Zach is certainly helping the case of moving on from Javi this summer. Played well at shortstop. I don't know if he's your long-term shortstop. But the more that Zach plays well, the better the chances are of you moving on from Javi this summer. So they finished the 3-game series tonight against the Texas Rangers with Kenta Maeda on the mound. Do we see a sweep? With Kenta Maeda, who really knows? But what are your thoughts on the Tigers' win last night? Do they win tonight as well? Make it a sweep on the Tigers, and it actually has been 3 straight, could be 4 straight wins if they win tonight. So we'll see. Let me know in the comments below or over on Twitter. The second topic we are going to discuss is a mailbag that was written by James Edwards III of The Athletic. It's of him answering questions, but instead of me reading off his answers, I'm going to answer the questions. This is my show. I'll do what I want. Sorry, James, but I'm just going to steal your questions, and I'm going to answer them instead. I would love to have a mailbag, but the only emails I get are when I send myself the overlay to upload. So the first question on here is, Langdon is clearly qualified and deserving, but with Pistons needing to show much improvement, wouldn't it have been better to hire someone proven who's already been successful? So this question is citing in the interview process for the Pistons, John Hammond, Dennis Lindsay. They were all candidates that were considered for the job, but they were older and more experienced. Trajan was the youngest candidate out of anybody that interviewed for this job. So I am not necessarily of the opinion that you need to get somebody who's, kind of older and more successful, because frankly, you could look at Monty Williams, right? We paid a hefty penny for Monty Williams. We gave him an offer and he said, no, I just kind of want to take the year off. And then we were like, we're going to give you so much money, you can't say no. Didn't really work out, right? He's a veteran coach, coached in New Orleans, coached in Phoenix, got to an NBA Finals, now coaching in Detroit. And hey, he is qualified. He's deserving, yet it didn't work out for him. So there are 2 things that I like about Trajan. One, his resume. He has the resume of somebody that you would want to hire, right? We've talked about this before. Started as a player, played overseas. Then he started as a scout after his playing career, worked up as like a director of player development with the Cavs, assistant GM with the Nets, general manager with the Pelicans, and now president of basketball operations with the Pistons. So he has consistently moved his way up through the ranks. He's had nothing but good things to say about him. Omari Sankofa III had a great article just getting quotes from other people around the league and all the things that they had to say about Trajan. That was a pretty cool article. So frankly, no, I think Trajan has the resume of somebody that you want. And also, given that he's a younger guy, as he builds this team, he can grow with the team at the same time. So he's just a guy who's a lot more likely, I should say, to hang around long term. Given his younger age, given his kind of younger philosophies, and the fact that this is his first big boy job that he has wanted, I'm okay with him going through those learning pains as our team also goes through those learning pains. So I do not feel that it would have been better to hire somebody more proven or who has already been successful. The next question that James got is odds Monty is coaching the team next season. Since I briefly spoke about this at the beginning when we were talking about JJ Redick, I'll make this one short. But I am going to say 60-40 that he is gone. And that 60 is only going to increase day by day. So again, and James Edwards III has said this a lot, I don't think that they are going to send Trajan to the Wolves of an introductory press conference without a public decision being made on Monty either way. Because let's say all of a sudden they want to introduce Trajan, and is Monty our coach? Is Monty not our coach? That's all anybody's going to want to ask, and that's all that the questions are going to be about. So if we publicly hear that we're going to keep him, then they can then direct those questions or be prepared for those questions as to why did you keep him? What did you learn over the last couple of days of meeting with Monty and his staff? Or if we find out that we're letting Monty go, you then have all those questions of, who are you looking for? What if you're going to let Monty go, Trajan? What kind of coach are you looking for? What were Monty's philosophies that you didn't like that you're hoping to get in a new coach? So again, I'm going to keep just beating this drum until there's an introductory press conference date settled for Trajan. I think it's still up in the air, and I think Monty's chances only get worse with time going on. So chances Monty stays, 40-60, 60-40 he goes. Next question. Likelihood that Simone Fontecchio resigns. Not resigns. That's how it's read here. Resigns. So likelihood that he resigns, 99%. He's going to be cheap. You can get him for essentially the MLE, which will be about $13 million per year. Maybe it gets to $15 million per year. We have his early bird rights. So one, he's a restricted free agent. We could, if somebody wanted to give Fontecchio $25 million a year, we technically would have the chance to match that. And I also think Fontecchio just really, really enjoys being on this team and playing with Cade. He was quoted as saying that he enjoys playing with Cade, and it's probably because of all the open looks that he gets playing off of Cade. So Cade is that kind of guy who can get into the lane. He can run that pick and roll with Duren. When the help collapses from the outside, he's looking for Simone in the corner or on the wing for an open three. Given Simone is such a movement shooter, he can come around the wing, getting ready to catch, turn, shoot, JJ Redick style. Those guys are just hard to find. You've got the rights to him, and all he needs is a new contract. So likelihood that he resigns, 99%. I think he's here to stay. He wants to be here, and he provides the kind of shooting around Cade that Cade needs. I wish we could sign 3 Fontecchios in the offseason on top of re-signing the real Fontecchio and have 4 of them with Cade running. I want more and more movement shooters around Cade. Last question. If the Pistons decide to keep the number 5 pick, who is your best case scenario at pick 5? Alex Sarr is not going to drop. If he did, it'd be Alex Sarr. Outside of that, I don't see Zachary Rizachet falling. It looks like he's going to be a top 3 pick as we get closer and closer to the draft. But Zachary Rizachet, he's 19 years old, playing professional ball in France. He's a good shooter. He's a good defender. And that's exactly what Trajan has drafted during his time in New Orleans, are those kind of 3-and-D guys. Maybe some guys who really are more on the defensive side and don't shoot the three all that well, but have grown their three-point ability over the years in their development. So Zachary Rizachet, a 3-and-D wing from France, I would say is at the top of the board. I also do not think Reed Shepherd falls. I think he probably goes 3 to Houston, but again, who knows what happens with trades or whatever. But my guess is right now, Alex Sarr goes 1, Zachary Rizachet goes 2 to Washington, Reed Shepherd going number 3 to Houston. Despite Reed being very small, he's 6'3" with a 6'3", 6'4" wingspan. The dude shot above 50% from 3 at Kentucky. He can easily turn into a great off-ball player. And for a guy like the Pistons, it's not a big deal that he's small when your point guard is 6'7". So essentially, instead of you having a 6'3" point guard with a 6'7" shooting guard, you have a 6'7" point guard with a 6'3" shooting guard. That's no issue. It's the same thing either way. I think Reed may get picked on at the NBA level defensively just because he's so small. He's not the best point of attack defender. You hope that the effort's there and that he can hold his own, but given the short wingspan, given his weight, he's just a small guy. But offensively, man, the guy had a 70% true shooting percentage this college basketball season. Absurd to hear from as a guard. So he's just a sniper. He's a good connective passer. He kicks it up in transition. He just plays the right way. So this is kind of my big board, the way that I think these picks are going to fall. So I think 1, 2, 3 are going to be Sarr, Rizachet, and Reed. I don't know what the Spurs are going to do it for, but frankly, my 4th choice after Reed would be Dalton Connect from Tennessee. I know that he's 23, so he's going to be one of the oldest guys in this draft class, but he just moved up to SEC basketball this past year. So his competition improved, and with that, his play improved, considering he came from Northern Colorado before transferring to Tennessee. So despite him being older, you're still seeing development occur as he plays with better competition. But man, go watch Dalton Connect highlights. He's not a great defender. He's not super big. He's probably more of a 2-3, but just a sniper, man. I think he shot like 9 threes a game during SEC ball. Hit him at a high 40% clip. He's a catch and shoot sniper. He's got athletic ability. He's got bounce. He can poster you. He can come off curls and get a mid-range bucket. I would love for Dalton Connect to be a Piston. He's not going to help them on the defensive side, but just like I was hyping up Simone Fontecchio as a movement shooter, Dalton Connect is a movement shooter that would feast off of playing off of Cade Cunningham. So put Cade, Dalton, and Simone in a lineup together, run the pick and roll with Duren, and Dalton and Simone on each wing. Whoever helps, kick it to him. Just let the threes fly. So Dalton Connect would be my 4th choice. But that's going to be my top 4. Alex Sarr, Zachary Rizachet, Reed Shepherd. Those 3, I think they go top 3 in the draft. Dalton Connect will be available at 5. I just wonder whether or not the Pistons will take him. So we'll see. What do you think about my answers to James' mailbag questions? Let me know in the comments below or over on Twitter. And our final segment is going to be about some Detroit Lions football, baby. Day 1 of minicamp started yesterday, so Colton Pouncey of The Athletic wrote an article, and I wanted to share his observations just so we can kind of understand the hype around that first day. So again, pads are not on. They've got a 3-day period of work before they're off for the summer, so just trying to get a little work in. But number 1, the top name that has been dropped after day 1 of minicamp is Jack Campbell. Linebacker out of Iowa, was a rookie, a first-round pick last year. Aaron Glenn said he's a man. He's a grown man. He's a guy that lives, breathes green dot mentality as a Mike backer. So he's living in that middle linebacker spot. And the fact that he's saying he's a man, he's a grown man. Jack's like 6'4", 6'5". Like he's huge. He's huge for a linebacker. So hell yeah, he's a grown man. Sorry for cussing. He recorded 2 interceptions yesterday. There was a sack. He had a pass breakup on Laporta, and he was commanding the defense, Colton said, from the mic spot. One thing that I thought was interesting, it was not in Colton's observations, but I went and looked up Alex Anzalone's contract, and there's an opt-out for Detroit over the next couple of years, and Detroit can save more than $6 million by waiving Anzalone before June 1st of the 2025 season. So not this upcoming football season, since Anzalone is already on the team, but after this season, you can waive Anzalone and save $6 million to spend elsewhere. If I had to guess, I bet this is Anzalone's last season as a Detroit Lion. You waive him to save money, and Jack Campbell takes over full-time at the mic spot. So we'll see. But next thing that was talked about was Lions secondary. That has been the talk of the offseason. Aaron Glenn said that he wanted to be aggressive, dial up pressure, and trust that his corners can handle their responsibilities in man coverage. As soon as I read this, I instantly thought of no-fly zone during the Michigan State days, the D'Antonio Narduzzi days back in like 2013 with Darqueze Dennard and Trey Waynes. I remember that there were times that Narduzzi would stack the box with 8 guys on defense. You have a safety over top, and then you have Trey and Darqueze on the sides because you were confident that they didn't need any help and that they were going to shut down their wide receivers. And Michigan State I don't remember where they ranked, and they could have very well been the best defense in college football in those kind of like 2011 to 2014 years during the Narduzzi and D'Antonio era. But that instantly is what clicked in my mind, was just the way that they were able to rely on their corners so well that you could essentially stack the box and shut everything else down when you can rely on your secondary. The linebackers don't have to drop into zone coverage to help. You can run different blitzes when you can rely on the secondary. So Anzalone said that the playbook has even changed a little bit already since last year because it's including more man coverage for the secondary. And that really it's just going to allow the rest of the defense to be better. So I am super excited about this secondary and just what a turnaround we could have from our starting centers against San Francisco. They were Cam Sutton and Kindle Vildor. And now it could be the most stacked room, the most stacked position room on the entire team. So Colton said there was a little bit of situational football. They practiced third down situations when they were backed up in their own territory, late game situations, and they did some 7-on-7s as well. He had some random final notes, and he said Onzaruke. He was getting mixed in with the first team defense. I saw that Levi dropped like 20, 25 pounds, that he's been getting cut. That would be huge if you could get something out of him, because he's kind of been disappointing as to where Aleem McNeil has been just turned into a star, basically. Can Levi just be a constant contributor on the defensive line? That would be a great surprise for next season. He also said Carlton Davis is a man amongst boys out there. He described him as a bully who looks the part of a seasoned vet. I think there's no bigger compliment to a lockdown corner than calling him a bully. So I absolutely love that. And just the idea of having a stacked secondary is so fantastic. And I can't even remember the last time the Lions have had that. Maybe during the Slay days, but even then, most of all, Colton said that the defense stood out more than the offense. But just reading that, and especially about the secondary, Jack Campbell, everything on defense, I'm just getting hype. I'm getting hype about the Lions football season already. So what are you looking forward to the most so far as the Lions season gets closer? Let me know in the comments below or over on Twitter. That is it for this episode of Detroit Sports Talk. I want to thank you for taking the time to talk some Detroit sports today. Be sure to like the show, subscribe to the channel, comment below your thoughts on today's topics, and follow me on Twitter at Bobby Buckets. Thanks again for taking the time to tune in, and I will see you guys on the next episode. Peace.